Yes, thank you very much. I have enjoyed a lot yesterday and meeting you all and all the very interesting discussions. When I got the invitation here, I was asked to think about use of material with timber frame. So I'm not talking about all kind of wonderful, beautiful natural materials which we can use in construction, what we use in our company. So I try to concentrate mainly on straw and use of straw and clay. Why I'm here and why I'm doing what I'm doing as an architect wanting to do ecological, long-lasting natural buildings. Both of my parents are also architects, so I grew up in an environment where I can always listen when we were traveling, mostly criticism and just thinking that why things were done in the way they were done. So I also started to think about that from very, very early stage. And when I then, after short turn in fine arts, in my first designs, going to the architecture, following my parents' footprint, I still started to think that why I do what I do. What is something what pleases me, and what is the reason why something feels uncomfortable. And it's a really, really big picture. And my way of living while studying architecture was already ecological. I was eating ecological food and so on. It was a very natural option for me to do my profession in that way too. And I had my own company. I had to take off, get myself away from a lap of my parents. And my father is very inventive. He is retired now, but he did many innovations in steel construction. And my grandfather actually started one of the first concrete factories in Finland. So I have seen the evaluation or development of various kind of systems, people putting a lot of effort and belief into what they were doing. So I have understanding in that side too, very much so. And I'm not saying that one should somehow replace the other one, but we completely have to start to think the bigger picture. And I don't see today's world that why are we building something which is very costly and has a very short lifespan. And when we only think about that, there actually comes very, very few options to work with. And this is why we are doing what we are doing. So, next slide. Natural Building Company is about 10 years old company. And this is all what we do. So we try to do a lot. But in our way of thinking, is that if we aim to do something, we can't concentrate only one area in construction. And the first, I show the main core we have in the company. First idea was to bring people who know about ecological building with various subjects together. So when we are a lot stronger when we have the individuals who were working with the skills, incredibly beautiful skills in Finland all over and alone. And this is what we still do. We join people together. We work and cooperate nationally and internationally if needed, if we don't have the information, what we need in construction. Paul Lynch, you probably many of you know, and Charlie Espergaard, they were best friends. They have Finnish wives living in Finland. They used to do, Paul is from Ireland and Charlie is from Denmark, natural building. And they exactly found this when they were building their own homes, that there are knowledge, but it's very, very difficult, even as a professional, to find, to control the building project from the beginning till the end. So they started to think about the idea that we have to have a firm who can consult people to natural building. I had my own office very young child working with an ecological building area in the area where we have the office today, and Paul and Charlie found me. I joined the company from the beginning when we started, and then it's wonderful, absolutely wonderful to have Anders Westerlund. He's very experienced engineer working, I would say, all Finnish important, historical, valuable, ecological, where you need to take under consideration ecological points. So completely overloaded person, but for me it's a privilege to work in a close relationship with the engineer from the beginning. I remember my parents, when we were traveling, we always had to go to the sites they were working, and even if you think that you have done everything ready for the plans, that whenever we go and construction is happening, there are questions that we didn't think about in planning stage. And my parents are looking, and the head carpenter is asking questions that how do you want to solve this problem here? And my parents say they see, and we need to think about it. Went back to the office, do the details, think about it, send them back, and then the workers try to understand what they meant with this design and try to fulfill it as well as possible. But now, when we have a problem in the site, and head carpenter is working in the same office, they mainly call me, Kati, we have a problem. I go to the site and ask that, how would you solve this one? And many times I got a lot better solution from them than I have been thinking. So I'm learning all the time. Then we have a young engineer now helping, Lucas Mondino. Anders and Jaakko is an architect who he did his diploma with me actually, off-grid natural home, which I'm going to introduce you. And Geir is from Norway, family in Finland, our head carpenter. And then Charlie, our explorer for different kind of ecological ways of doing things. But then I don't have, unfortunately, a picture of all our workers who we work with, about 25 different guys doing different things on the site. This is interesting because the healthy building material can be so many things, and this is one of the problems which I see we face now, is that we have these goals: safetyness, fire protection, easy to maintain, cleanness, easiness to use, certification, no bacteria, no molds. And most of the materials, they start to concentrate into one of these areas. No, they don't care about the manners they achieve them, but they can say they are fire safe, or they can see there is no molds going to grow this. And even from different insulation materials, they can say it doesn't burn because it melts. It's a different chemical process. So this is something should be taken also into consideration, that what healthy actually means. And I don't know if you have a M1 certification or valuation in Sweden, but it's a stamp we put to the materials which is supposed to be very, very well scientifically tested to be safe building material. But the method they do it's completely invalid. It used to be so that these materials were tested in 0% humidity situation. So you can just imagine what happens when there is a moisture for the materials which have been tested in 0 humidity situation. It's luckily changed last year. We are working with Mirja Salkinoja-Salonen, who is an older woman, all his life studied microbiology in building materials. And her work starts to be now realized after he's soon going to retire. It's very, very interesting. I have to read this because even if she speaks in Finnish, for me it's difficult to understand the language many times. But for example, for this certification, the method used is only determined by gas chromatography. The M1 classification method is further limited so that only those substances having the molar weight of between 60 and 230 grams per mole will be taken into account. So the mole weight with many of the materials is very, very, very different and varies. And that excludes all the mycotoxins and most of the biocides and demasing chemicals currently used in the building materials and so on. So it doesn't actually give the truth, but it's a certification which we trust. I a little bit studied, because in Finland we have a huge problem in our indoor air quality, and it seems that it's a Finnish symptom. But I guess you have, that has been a bit of trouble for our government, and why it's only us. But I don't think it's the only way, only thing, and only in Finland. But it has to do for sure a process we had in our building development while starting to use the modern materials and realizing its humidity behavior is actually really bad, so we have to start to somehow prevent the humidity to go into the structures. And we all know what happened with that aim, because the humidity will get there one day anyhow. And the indoor quality is important because average urban people spend 95% of their lifetime indoors. We jump into the car, they park the car into the garage and go to the work, go to the car, shopping, do it indoors and take so it's a big issue, and in Finland from 600 to 800,000 people are exposed to mold problems or structures with mold problems or humidity problems in structures every day. About the molds and the microbes, the Finnish way is to try to eliminate bacteria and microbes, and we never will win that fight, so we should learn to deal with them. And our bodies are used to, they developed during the millions of years to deal with the microbes around us. And now when we start to disturb the situation, for example, by disinfecting things, we start to get problems. And this is one of the biggest things in Finland. It's very clean. Even the big buildings, they disinfect before they move in. So people come in and start to immediately through the ventilated space to get the problems. So the microbes cause problems only when they produce toxins, and that's not a natural situation, and we don't have a natural situation in buildings today. So the challenges, what we have, if we think about the ways of building what we used to have and which did last, simply it went from generation to generation, the knowledge, and developed along the way. There were only few materials used, and they were known very well. So it changed, of course, and we have to live with it. The scale is different. The rhythm, the fastness of what building needs to be built up, it's completely different, and we have to somehow deal with it. And today's, I think one of the most difficult things is to do the right choice from the enormous amount of materials available, that you can choose right things. And myself and our company has done so that we have eliminated 95% of used materials away completely and concentrate to materials which we know and has an long experience of proven success in buildings. Well, one challenge is also this wide range of use of various kind of chemicals. That's something personally I try to avoid. Exactly this, that how we start to too much change the qualities of the materials or produce something completely unnecessary. The life cycle starts to be very, very difficult to handle. Plus, we will be in a trouble one day with all this stuff, what we, for example, put into the buildings. Well, very shortly, basic principles. That you all know. I know you want to build good buildings, but this what you have. You have a long experience of timber frame to work, and that's a big advantage. That's you can be very proud of. One important thing, the materials we use, and I should be taking under consideration, is the cradle-to-cradle thinking. That with everything, with even to the fabrics we use, that what do we use, what do we leave behind when the life cycle of the material is over. For example, concrete is quite a challenge. It's after water mostly used material in the world. So if we start to change only using wood instead of concrete, we are going to be in a deep trouble. So we need to find combinations to continue sustainable building. And because it's so overwhelming in industry, for example, when one old building is teared down, all the chemicals are used in concrete are not even listed in this list, which are prohibited to put to the reuse or how to trash it. As we see, most of this is lightened here is concrete. So to answer this and do something different is challenging, and there is work for all of us. A lot. So shortly, the situation in Sweden and Finland is good. We have this other percentage of the forest we have in the country, but when we go south, we see that the situation is not the same anymore. And also we use and we need the forests to tie the greenhouse gases. This is actually a picture from our home, which we built before I was familiar with closer familiar with straw bale construction. So it's a soft wood timber frame structure with cellulose insulation. And all the materials are ecological, our paints at that time. Now we have clay paints and we tar the cladding outside. But these I mentioned already quite much, but what people actually don't see, that effect of building and how we actually buy a house is the biggest environmental act person can do. And this is most important thing, no matter what, is that we have a healthy building physics. If we only concentrate to energy efficiency, for example, which is the mainstream in Finland, it can cause, and it is causing all the time, a lot of problems. That only one humidity problem and a renovation in a building average time to concept, it's about 4,000 years of building's energy consumption. So it's insane. So when we go to materials, it's mainly clay, straw, wood, stone, and other products from planet kingdom. That's what it the building used to be the longest period of the time, and now we can use them and find ways to use them also to fulfill the modern requirements. And that's one of the biggest challenges we have in our company, what we want to do. And I'm not going all the wonderful materials like a liquid straw we talked about, or foam glass, or there is all the high-tech Finnish new wood structures which we can do long spans without glues and things like that. But you can come and talk to me if you have any questions. But straw, it's a byproduct from agriculture, which is really, really nice, that we don't need to do a production to product a new product. And its ingredients are very much the same as wood. And when it compressed, it has actually nice load-bearing capacity, about 3,000 kilograms per square meter. So we have also done in our early stages load-bearing straw bale structures. Sound insulation is naturally very, very good, and U-value too. And negative CO2 footprint. So we can, with this material, when it's right, in a right way done and used, do really, really good buildings. And now we have new fire protection valuation 120 minutes, which is amazing without any chemicals. And I see it as a good opportunity. In Jaakko's, who worked with us in his diploma work, he calculated that in 1 year we can build from straw left over into the fields 500,000 buildings only in Finland, family home size, and it's mainly put back to the ground. And it's very, very durable. This is just an example which I picked from the Facebook of people we be in contact with in California, where the fires were there. Everything else was gone. This is one of the best, I think, examples, and to show it in reality that it really, really works. There are some timber frames too. So these are the methods. This is a lot. It's a popular, and it has been done a lot along the self-builders. We studied a little bit load-bearing straw bale construction, but came to the conclusion that combination with timber frame, it's the best way, and also to deal with the inspectors. So for the straw bale construction, we have had to get third members' independent statement of the structures we use. So we have all that for the inspectors done. But to get the best quality to fulfill the requirements is definitely to go to the more developed product like ecococoon. From the panels done today, it's definitely most advanced, and I will talk about that a bit too in the later. So this is normal wall structure used. It's approximately 40 centimeters of straw. Also the panel has a width of 40 centimeters. Inside, naturally, straw is the base for plastering, clay plastering directly, and we normally use minimum 35 millimeters of clay. First from 0.4 grades for base coating, and then 0.2 second coat, and if we want to have a fine finishing with 0.1. I demonstrate that more specifically lately. And then outside there is clay plastering also, air cap and cladding. That's the most commonly used structure we have. The structure has really, really good humidity behavior. And this is something what people are, and it's many times asked from me, that how does it work in the humid areas, especially when it's carefully coated with clay, it works in a really, really good way. Even in the, if we have 80% of humidity inside, there is no way that it can go through the 35 millimeter clay surface. It can suck it. But if it goes for some reason to the structure, this can bite 1,000 times humidity than 20 degrees of air has. So I see it as a good behavior. Then ecococoon came to the picture a few years ago when we started to think that we need to systemize this. It has to be easier. And then we found a Lithuanian company who has done already before us 7 years development and started the certification process. And now we cooperate with them, and Bolis has been in a styrelse of ecococoon. And this has helped us a lot forward with more public buildings and in a bigger picture for people who are not necessarily so ecologically minded, that we can offer an easy way, professional way, easy to understand way, natural home. And that it has all the information as a block eases a lot. And it's one of the most flexible modular system I have run into. The basic size of the element is 400 by 800 and 3 meters high. And anything, 2 millimeter accuracy, anything between that to 3 meters. And the smallest one is 4 by 400 by 400. And all the angles, anything you want. So you can basically plan whatever you want, and we are even now developing that you can do more rounder shapes around the windows and so on. Which is nice. It's one of the most ecological projects in the world. It has got a prize for that. So it has a full cradle-to-cradle certification last year. We will get the full CE mark for it this year. We have all the documents for it already, so it's easy to go and work with investigators or other professionals. We have the fire protection, and you can even do a passive house standard houses with this. So we have 3 buildings in Europe with blow door test 0.1. And what we have done in Finland, it has been between 0.7 to 1.2. And average in a normal building is around 4, 5. And we are representatives of ecococoon also in Sweden and in Nordic countries. So, and we have worked here. We have 5 buildings in Sweden with ecococoon, and so you can ask more questions about that from me too. This is one hour. Well, I think I will come to that. But here you see the elements arrive to the site. It's very quick. It's very clean. As element construction is the same principle. And 2 guys, 3 guys on the site can handle them by hand also in a one level construction. And there is a lot. They are very organized in ecococoon. A lot of information available. You do the plans. You get the element plan from the factory. There is a 3D model coming. They are carefully marked. That's very good that you get a stamp in every they're coded, and every panel about humidity content, and also they measure it when they bring it to how they have left it to the site, and then it's our responsibility to put it into the structure as a dry material. So they give also, if you aim for passive house standards, they give you consultation, detailed consultation, and so on. This is the house of founder of ecococoon, with clay floor, clay walls. They have done with the family the clay wall there in the behind with coffee beans inserted in. just to see the feeling of the building. Then I'm running out of the time, to be quick. Clay goes very naturally with straw. It's amazing. It's even more fascinating product, I think, and a lot full of possibilities. So we do mainly clay plasterings on the surfaces, not only straw, but with even modern buildings, modern materials to help with humidity things or indoor quality things. You can do a lot of things with it. There are light walls, massive clay walls, rammed earth structures, and interior design is the possibility to do with clay is it's full of possibilities. And of course it's a fire protection, and we are doing now certification of straw to be used with different thicknesses and combinations as a fire protection for wood. Which make it easy is that in Estonia they have a tradition of use of clay in construction which has never ended, so it's continuous old tradition, and they have developed these products well, good, and to fulfill the modern needs. So we have ready mixes of various grains from 0.1 to 0.4, almost 50 natural colors. And when we have white clay, you can always add a pigment if you want a special color. So you need to, we have 25 kilogram bags where you can only add the water and other decoration things if you want to for the fine finished plastering. So this is great and good product. This is just a demonstration of the normal 3-day layer thing, but we don't use this. Came from ecococoon factory. This picture we use jute fabric instead of plastic membrane or this. You know, when you would change the grains to 0.1. You can do many kind of surfaces, and it's actually when you learn the technique. It's as many of you has worked already with clay. We have professional clay plasterers in our office also doing this and Tadelakt. So the quality is different than when I'm plastering, but we did our home and we like the little unperfectness in the clay too. One of example in our clay plasterings with straw, and it's a lot used in the renovations too. It goes really well in lock as it's used to be used. And to finish architecture and interior design, it's a new thing that we can get a little soft rounds and plasticity. And it's getting very trendy. It's very trendy in England, and it's getting very trendy in Finland. We were in the main interior exhibition with Savi Kumaya, who produces the glaze. And this is a clay plastering work there. And Clay Works in England has taken it in a really nice level just to demonstrate the possibilities to do as an interior designer stuff into the wall with clay. Then there is Tadelakt, which is an old ancient Moroccan technique which is waterproof. It's lime-based product which is put in or sealed with olive oil and a special stone. This is among the ecologically minded people rising head in Finland too. We are doing hundreds of square meters of Tadelakt in various projects. Just a few examples. Then clay floors, when trying to find solution for replacing concrete a little bit, we are developing with 2 Finnish concrete factories now clay slabs. It's a beautiful, durable, completely different material compared to the concrete because it's naturally warm when you have heat, and also if you drop a heavy stone into the concrete, it cracks, but clay has a capacity to bend, so it actually makes a little smooth edge hole in, and it's very, very easy to fix compared to the concrete. One floor we have done in a timber frame structured building with ecococoon walls, with clay and wood together. Then a few examples. This is, I want to produce one where the timber frame is mostly used. It was done in the, and the eco frame did the frame for it. So if you have more questions, you can talk to these guys. And it was done by Jaakko, the young guy who is now working with us as a diploma work for him. It's great. It's carbon dioxide negative, ecological, self-sufficient, and above all, very, very healthy home. And the customers very, very particular with everything used in the material. So it's off-grid, but it was a normal permit process. So we are very proud of it, that it doesn't have to be a go anymore through the special koerakentaminen, which is this test building permit you can get. They're Torsten and Dave mainly worked with the frame while we were doing the foundation. As this was the first time for me to do the foundation and subfloor with the ventilated space, which we mainly used with wood on top. We started with wood as soon as possible. It was safe in our winter conditions. Just showing you very familiar pictures for you, things with the process. So when the floor was done and timber frame starts to come up, the bales have been taken in, and we did this as a course. These customers are permaculture people. They wanted to be involved in the process. So this is one way of doing things, and this is very common way of doing this, but we mainly do in a sort of professional building company way, which you can see the products of that too later. Bales are in. We developed with the Finnish company Thermex cellulose insulation without borax, because they didn't want any chemicals into the building, and it's now a certified product, and we use as a fire protection clay powder. Walls coming in with the heating, first layer. Charlie doing fine finishing plastering on the left, and Jaakko doing fine finishing plastering on the right, and we sanded out the textures of the straw and stones. So it's a very beautiful wall. Outside being done, plastered, and then there will be cladding, airspace and cladding on top, and some interior pictures. The father of the family started to do even the furniture himself in the end. And very happy customers. This was a nice sort of self-built project which was guided by us to be done in a well way, because you can also do really bad buildings with straw bales. So this is an industrial kitchen in Ekenäs in Finland, between Helsinki and Turku. There's a Steiner school, and they needed a bigger kitchen. So it's a 120 square meter industrial kitchen, which we were able to do with straw elements. Walls up, open space in, and when the kitchen is ready, there's a lot of surfaces only with clay visible, balancing the humidity inside. It works really well. We put always humidity sensors into the structure so we can follow buildings we have done. And so far we have never had any problems. Building just finished. And this is a ecococoon and timber frame combination. Our head carpenter's gears home, so he came with the ready plan. he knew what he wanted, so it's not my architecture, but I just helped him to get the permit. You see there the frame up. I think I'm running out of the time. You have to say me when I need to stop. So you see here, clay surfaces and gears, timber frame, ecococoon walls, and timber frame attached to the wall, and clay wall surfaces. And this is not a timber frame structure, but I wanted to show you just one other example of a cocoon building in the south coastline in Finland. There was Kasper Järnefelt, who we worked together with as an architect. Interior and walls. And there's clay in the walls and tadelakt next to the sink, and the whole tadelakt is done with the whole sink is done with the tadelakt. And this was interesting. This was done in a cooperation with Mirja Salkinoja-Salonen, a school with indoor quality problem. And this was Kasper's project, and he wanted to test how the clay works in practice and scientifically test it. So there is a concrete slab and there was a plastic mat on top of it. So when we took the mat away, there was a wet concrete underneath. So we didn't have money to do renovation so that humidity doesn't go to the structure. So it's still there. We took it off, tried it, and put clay floor on top, and also the clay walls. And now it works perfectly. The humidity goes through, so it doesn't stick and stay in the structure. And somehow the clay, probably, according to Mirja, because of the very rich microbes, it somehow balances the situation, the toxins, which otherwise would come through in a situation where there's not enough air, for example. That causes already problem, or they get in contact with the materials which are not natural, and so on, so on. So they start to formulate the how they breathe. It's mainly small particles of humidity, which then is toxic. And here now the air is clean and no one get any symptoms, and it's working with very, very little effort. And now there is a diploma work done with different kind of flooring systems, and for the behavior, humidity behavior, the number one result, clay floor got the number one results. Then I want to give a credit of me to get interested about ramped earth, and it could work really nice in a timber frame too, because it's also developed to fulfill the modern requirements, and I cooperate a lot with Collaboratorio architects, young couple in Helsinki, Kati and Martino. Martin Rauch in Austria has developed the product a lot, so we work together with him with these Finnish factories to start to do the same in a little bit different way. Just you see the feeling of ramped earth walls, and I show you the technique it's done today, later, but it's really beautiful, and there is no comparison for the humidity behavior with this material to anyone I know. We are going to have a first project in Mäntsälä with Kati and Martino starting next year. It's under planning now, and these are test flooring we have done with different kind of load bearing and these durable tests. And there is a technique now how the aeration of the clay from the walls can be stopped with this listing, which can be wood or stone. So it goes off a certain millimeters and then it stops. Interior pictures from Martin's projects, his home, probably familiar for many of you. And of course it can use ramped earth in interior also. Beautiful surfaces. Okay. Floors, which we now aim to do. This is done on site, but we aim to do that in elements. And this is a factory done by Martin with this technique that they do the elements ready in the factory, ready to go. And when it's clay, it's easy to put together, and they have developed it now white with insulation, so you get very good U values. Mainly used foam glass inside between. So this is my daughter on top of her horse. She was 9 years old when she got a really, really sick horse to take care of. And it was like a doomed project, but because she had really little experience, she had only faith and love towards this horse. And they worked together 3 years, just the presence of her, and we started, of course, to take care of the food and so on. She has a healthy horse today to ride with. So I think it's a lot about how we think about things, and I think that the thought can change everything, and what is very beautiful, that thought is always easy to change. So we have to remember this when we work with the people who necessarily don't see the world as we do. Thank you very much.